October episode of Paper Movies, a novelization book club, where we picked the novelization Willow, written by Wayland Drew,
I
who
get to
has
show
all.
off the hardcover.
Yeah, you got the hardcover. It's a book club edition, correct?
Yeah,
I
$5
love
on eBay.
that's awesome. I love the size of that book too.
Oh yeah,
The
it was just
hardcover.
perfect. Only thing though, if you're a Goodreads, some of my Goodreads people will understand. Um, when you have a novelization on Goodreads, they almost always go with the paperback page count. So my page count was just off the entire time. For the one of you viewers that follows me on Goodreads is like, he's been at 30% for a while. It's because I
That's funny.
realized I just stopped inputting.
That's funny.
But that's all these because these things, there's not a lot of them. There's several. Like I have one of Dragon Slayer, another Wayland Drew book, which
Yep.
Willow by Wayland
Yep.
Drew.
Yep. Yeah,
Uh,
Wayland Drew, Willow, Dragon Slayer, and also Batteries Not Included
and
novelization that I
Corvette Summer, the
yes,
Mark Hamill
novelizations.
classic.
So he did a couple novelizations and he did a couple books on his own, like sci-fi stuff, which I might want to look into. It's
Yeah,
for me,
after this, I want to read more Wayland Drew.
yeah. He has let's get into the story. I mean, for those that don't know, Willow, there's this evil sorceress who is taking over the land, and there's this prophecy about a baby that will be born a female with a mark on her arm. She is destined to destroy this evil sorceress, and the sorceress, I can't remember her name all of a sudden. She has all these babies being collected and killed if they have the mark. She's just trying to make sure that she's safe. Well, the
Mhm.
baby is born, and a nursemaid grabs the baby, runs away from the castle, and finds a river, kind of like a little Moses story from the Bible, where she puts the baby on this little bed of grass and weeds, and then throws the baby down the river.
Mhm.
So it washes up on shore somewhere far away in this land that is yet to be touched by the evil that's taking over the world. And Willow, our main character, finds the baby, like his
Mhm.
kids find the baby, and he thinks it's a bad omen and wants to. We can't keep a baby, and then it's kind of true because these death dogs come to their village, start tearing up the town, and he's got to get this baby to a human, which they call dakinis, to get the baby off of his hands. And things get crazy in this wild adventure where Willow hooks up with some dakinis to save the world,
Mhm.
basically from this evil sorceress. So it's a nice, simple hero's journey type of a story with
Oh yeah.
many great characters they all have their own little troubles that they're trying to break through. Um, it's a story by George Lucas. So
Yeah, directed by Ron Howard.
yeah,
Um, George Lucas, the story goes, and I don't know how accurate it is because I've never heard George Lucas talk about it. But a lot of people say that George Lucas wanted to make a live action Lord of the Rings in the 80s.
mm,
And no one, including I think the Tolkien estate, wanted that because they're like, it's going to look terrible. It's going to be embarrassing. Because before this, we had the Lord of the Rings, the Ralph Bakshi film, which was that rotoscoped animation with live actors as orcs.
yeah.
An interesting film, but it's very wonky. And then there was the really cartoonish Return of the King. So they were done. So Lucas is like, I guess fine. I'm gonna have my own movie with little people in it.
Yeah.
And so he made Willow, and it was the best choice. Willow, he wanted to prove that the hero's journey could be for anyone.
Right.
And that's shown here. This is George Lucas has this perfect understanding of Joseph Campbell's Hero with a Thousand Faces, and it shows here. But it's interesting. This book follows the movie a lot, very heavily, but it adds scenes that were from the original cut of the film. Um,
which they should have left in the film because this book expands a lot. Uh, this is what I really like about Wayland Drew. So for
mhm,
me, Wayland Drew is 2 for 2. The Dragon Slayer, one of the best novelizations that I've read. This one, it's it's got so much more detail. It dives
yeah,
into all these character points, and
mhm.
it a lot of the guys like with the Newlwins, right?
Yes,
Uh,
those are the
the
little people.
the people that were the little people,
Yeah,
um, their land. We get a lot more character development with the people in that town, and especially the
mhm,
warriors and the leaders, the leadership in the
yeah,
novelization. In the film, we kind of brush over a lot of that stuff, and like when they're on this mission to give the child to the first person they see. There's a couple people in the party that are ready to drop the baby off with this guy who's hanging in the crow's nest, as it's called,
mhm,
kind of like a little, like a jail cell
mhm.
that's going
That you're
to
left for the crows to eat you.
right. You're gonna die. It's like a life sentence, and they're all like, "Hey, we were told by our sorcerer because everybody has like a little sorcerers are everywhere in this book, but their leader at that Newland home of Willow tells them, give the baby to the first person that you see.
Mhm,
And everybody in the party is like, hey, here's the first person. Let's get rid of the baby. And Willow's like, I don't like this idea. This is a bad idea. Um, but everybody in the party pretty much leaves except one other guy. But in the novelization, we get a lot more detail of why they're leaving.
mhm,
And like this head warrior of the group doesn't really want to leave Willow either. There was like a strong friendship between him and two other people,
mhm.
and they don't get into that in the movie really at all.
No, there isn't time. I wanna bring up a few scenes that were cut from the film that are in the novelization. The first is the fish boy. I'm
Yeah,
gonna bring up the fish boy. The reason the fish boy isn't in the film is when he turns into a fish, the effect was bad. They ran into Jaws problems, and they
okay,
couldn't get the fish to work. They nearly drowned Warwick Davies doing the whole thing because there's more to it in the film. Like there was a whole knife fight with it underwater and
really?
stuff. That's
I need
not
to
in the book, thankfully.
look
Um,
up the deleted scenes for the film.
they're really cool. They're on YouTube, and Ron Howard does commentary for each
Oh,
one, and he
okay,
explains why they aren't in there. Another one is the whole plot subplot with Sorsha's father being frozen, the people frozen, which really isn't in the film
yeah,
at
not in the
all.
film. When you see them frozen in the castle that they go to,
Yeah,
which
but they see the king and stuff, and, like, that's not that's in the book, but not in the film because they ran out of time, and they had to cut that whole plot out, so any scene where they reference Saoirse's father is cut from the film, and there's a whole bunch of them. They had to
yeah,
redo the, final confrontation to cut out 'cause they talk about Saoirse's father.
yeah, which that whole plot point with the father really helps with Sorce's character development. Like,
Yes.
that's where you understand why she turns against her mother. In the
Mhm.
film, it's just kinda like she falls into this romance, like, oh, she's talked sweet by Mad Mardigan, and she's like,
It's
"Oh,
the
I think I
funniest
love this
scene.
guy, I'm confused now. So, now I'm good." But in the book, we get that, like, your father was a good man, he was a king of this great place, and when she sees him, she even hears his voice.
Mhm.
It starts to click in her head, like, I'm on the wrong side here. So, as another point for the book of character development for the main
Yeah,
characters.
the missing acorn of the 3 acorns was used on the fish boy,
Yeah.
and it's cut out, and people didn't notice until Willow got released on DVD, and they started messaging Ron Howard, like, "Where's the last acorn?"
Oh, I noticed something. I wanted to rewind it. I should have, but I'm pretty sure because after the scene happened, I didn't have the remote with me. It's on. I watched it on Xbox. I had it the Blu-ray, and I
Yeah.
didn't want to get the controller and all, all that stuff. But I'm pretty sure before we know the baby's name, or before Willow should know the baby's name, it was dubbed over, like ADR over.
Oh.
His mouth says Alora
Mhm,
to something else. This child, I think it was.
mhm.
So I think they realized, oh wait, he should not know the baby's name right now. So they just dubbed over it. I thought that it's
This
when he's
movie
talking to Mad Mardigan.
this movie it was like nightmare fuel for me as a little kid. Like some of it I absolutely loved, but like the dogs freaked me out.
Yeah,
The two-headed monster really freaked me out.
the troll turning into a blob freaked me out.
Oh god, yeah. I like hid
Like
my in my room. I ran away. I was like 4 when I first saw this. This movie's nightmare fuel. This book is violent.
it is. It gets pretty graphic in some places.
Yeah, people getting disemboweled.
Hmm.
A
Yeah,
horse gets disemboweled.
like Bev Morda. That's who the sorceress is. She's
Yes.
like pouring blood on herself in this ritual at the end to send this Allura. Allura is the baby's name, who's the
Mhm,
one that's destined to kill her, which is funny because that's not what happens.
mhm,
You know what I mean? She is the root cause of death, but the
mhm,
other people are the ones that kill her.
mhm.
I guess just her presence is going to be the reason of her downfall. But um,
Yeah.
yeah, I
Well,
thought
how's a
that was kind of
baby
a funny
is the
shot.
baby gonna pick up a baby knife and stab the sorceress? I don't think so.
Like like a Pet Cemetery scene where she just turns
The
evil with
gauge.
yeah with a little razor blade.
Oh god, yeah. She gets euthanized and she says, "No fair.
Anybody
No
want to play?
fair." Oh lord. Pet Cemetery. Great book, 2 horrible movies.
Yeah, yeah.
Horrible. But we're not gonna talk about Pet Cemetery. That's for another live stream.
See, something else that stuck out and it just hit me is when Finn Razel, like this great sorceress lady who's like a good guy, we get a lot of her in the novelization. Of course, she's in the movie quite a bit, but not near like she is in the book.
Yes.
There's an interesting scene when she's being transformed from a goat because Willow he's trying to turn her back into a human throughout the story and keeps turning her into another animal. Um, when she becomes a human in the book, she's young first, like she's in her
Mhm.
younger years, not like a child, but like a young adult. And she's like this. I think it says like she's like that for a few minutes and then starts to age rapidly. And
Yes.
the way that that's described was like, wow, that's so good because it gets into like, oh, then the droopiness of age. Is it the way he Wayland Drew wrote it was like, wow, that's it's sad and also very
It's sad, it's a matter of fact.
yeah.
It's not
In the
gratuitous at all.
right, right. In the movie, she just turns into an old lady and um
That
which
was early
which
CGI.
right, and it worked, but
Uh-huh.
I thought it was more interesting for her to see, like, she is herself, and then all of a sudden, the age catches up to her, and she realizes, "Oh, man, time has passed
Mhm.
since I've been a human."
'Cause I was stuck as a possum forever
Yeah. Yeah.
on an island.
Yeah. Which, um, what do you think of the Kale character?
Um,
Like, Bev Morda's right-hand man, like, the warrior guy?
he was creepy.
He was creepy.
He's creepier in the film. I think he works better in the film a little bit. He has less to say, as I recall, in the film.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I
Um,
think the end fighting scenes were better with him because, when him and Eric fight, which is,
mhm.
that other guy that, was like the warrior for Gallandor or something?
He was a knight of Gallandor, yeah.
Right, and
Which
him
Mad
and
Mardigan was a disgraced knight of Gallandor.
yeah, which I thought that was a really interesting twist to his character because in the movie, we really
Yes.
don't know his background. Um, he was like a prodigy, like, in his younger years, and then just started running with the wrong crowd, and kinda just turned his back on all of his beliefs and what he was doing, and,
Gets dishonored
yeah, so that
by his
nobody really
lover.
likes him anymore. Yep, yep. We get a love story in there, or love history. Um,
Yeah, and that's something I want to bring up in this with the structure of this book real quick. Where when a bunch of exposition is dropped, it will say so and so's tale. And
yeah,
they do it a few times throughout the book. And it never gets old. Because Wayland Drew still makes it compelling with his world building. And it's just an
mhm.
excuse to format his word building so he wouldn't have to put it in like dialogue perspective, because that would be tedious.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that
'cause
would
we
be.
get like Finn Razzle's backstory, we get Mad Mardigan's backstory, we
Yeah,
get one.
Chandrilla,
Yeah.
which had a really more of an important part in the book, I would say, than the movie.
Mhm.
Maybe I don't know.
I also like
Um,
that they in the book they hint that Willow's daughter has power
I might
with
have missed that.
the paintings.
I missed that.
Oh,
I know she was a painter.
yeah, I
Um, so you think she was like going to be a source, like a
I
magician
think
as
that
well?
they left it open for a sequel that never came to be, but that's
It's-
okay.
Until now,
Until now, but they're not
with a
doing
series.
that. It's
No.
Disney, they don't read books.
See, I have question. We'll get into that maybe late at the end. Um,
Mhm.
but I thought the book, I mean, was fantastic. Wayland Drew really, his descriptions, his way of telling the story, his additions to things, which I would bet that he added more than what the screenplay even had to offer.
They probably allowed him to add more. If
Yeah.
I know anything about George Lucas and his detail of things, he probably had all sorts of notes and stuff and just gave them to Wayland Drew. That's what he did. This is just based off of what he did with Terry Brooks for the Phantom Menace.
Okay. Yeah. Which I know he had a miserable experience with that one.
No, he had a miserable experience with Hook.
That's right. Yeah. That's
And
right.
the Phantom Menace was a really positive one.
Okay.
'Cause
Yeah.
George worked with them.
I had that mixed up. Yeah. I remember that now.
Yeah, and you could tell in Hook that Terry Brooks isn't having a good time. um, but yeah, I liked all of it. I like that certain dialogue isn't changed from the film, like when Mad Mardigan gets the pixie dust
Yes.
and he just starts fawning over Sorsha when he's supposed to be rescuing the baby. My favorite scene from the whole film.
Yeah. That is pretty funny. What's funny too is like Willow, he's just like, "Hey, get the baby." It's like, "Willow, just run in and get the baby."
That's what
Which
he
what I liked
does.
what I liked about Willow is that he in the film and in the book, he wants to do the right thing, but
Yes.
he's also like very scared.
Mhm.
And I liked that it wasn't like, "Oh, Willow's gonna be the hero," because he kind of was, but he was not gonna be able to do this on his own.
Mhm.
He definitely needed Mad Mardigan, you
Yes.
know?
And Mad
And,
Mardigan needed him.
yes, very much so, very
And
much
the
so,
brownies were just there for comic relief.
which I enjoyed them more in the book than I did the film.
Yes, because they have more to say and more witty things to say.
Yep, you don't have to see that kinda bad CGI.
Oh, yeah, it was early blue screen.
That color match was just so off.
Well, yeah, they hadn't developed green screen yet.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, and just those poor actors running on treadmills constantly. Um, it's not as bad as the cauldron thing at the end, which is not even in the book. That Willow, or when Willow fights the cauldron,
yep,
that
yeah,
gave me nightmares as a child.
really.
Yeah, that
I didn't like that
freaked me
scene.
out.
It was weird, but
This was
yeah,
a
when I
frustrating movie for me when I was little. Like
well,
half its
that
nightmare fuel and half of it's awesome.
the replacement for that in the book was the gargoyles. The gargoyles, came to life and then were, like, pretty much instantly killed. That end scene, though, with, Sorsha when
Mhm,
she comes in and faces her mother
mhm.
in the book, so much better. I think to me, a lot of the book was way better than the film. um, these three priests step forward to
Mhm.
do something, and Sorcerer just like
And that's
slashes
in
their
the
necks.
original cut, but they cut it because they talk about her father.
Okay, but I like
But
how she
the
just goes to.
dialogue's better in the book than it was in the deleted scene that I watched.
Mhm.
Um, Wayland Drew probably just is like, I could change this
Yeah,
like better. That's what a good novelization does. If there's wonky dialogue, they work around it.
fix it with their magic.
Mhm.
Um,
Or they
uh,
don't, and then we complain about it.
right. The ending as well was better in the book than in the film because you actually got explanation of what was happening. Because in the film,
Yes.
when you're watching it, they're all of a sudden they're all at this other castle
Mhm.
with a bunch of people around them, and they're all like clapping, saying bye to Willow, and it's like, well, what's going on here? What
It's
castle are
very
we at?
rushed.
Yeah, very rushed.
Yeah, and that has more to do with having to edit the film down.
Yeah,
It's one of Ron Howard's early films, so I give him a little slack.
I mean, I enjoy the film quite a bit. I think the reviews for it are kind of mediocre.
Yeah, at the times, fantasy wasn't popular.
Yeah, the late '80s.
Yeah, I mean, like you had things like Legend and Excalibur, but they weren't successful at the box office. It's over time you get like Legend, people like it more.
Hmm.
And like people that like things technical things like Legend, but Willow is made for a general audience as well as the technical people.
Yeah,
Um and honestly, I feel like some of it was just a test drive for effects in Last Crusade.
it could have been.
There's a lot of effects they use in Willow that they use in Last Crusade, which came out, I think, 2 years after. That was George Lucas. That was his thing.
Yeah,
Always test things until we got to Attack of the Clones. Did you just use the same crap for
yeah,
Revenge of the Sith?
yeah. I think the only other comment that I can think of right now is Kale's death, and Eric's death
Mhm.
was more was more graphic and more emotional in the book than in the film. In the film, he gets stabbed and then like kicked down a hill, and his body just kind of rolls.
Yeah.
In the book, didn't he get like kicked off the side of the castle?
Yeah, after being disemboweled,
Yeah, so
and he
it's like, oh
falls in the
wow,
mud, and
yeah,
Mad Morgan's laying with like holding him in the mud as he
yeah,
dies.
it is more emotional. And then
But we
I
get it
know
from the brownies' perspective.
that, yeah, we do. Yeah, they're like that was. They're talking about how it's going to be a great tale one of these days
Mhm.
of the great warriors of that battle.
Yeah. I do prefer the fighting in the film over the book, but that's just visual to reading it.
Right, I understand that. So, like, you just reminded me, like the brownies were the ones saying that stuff at the end there. So now I'm thinking the whole story is from the perspective of the brownies
Some of it is.
because they're if they're the ones telling the.
They could, yeah.
Not that it matters, but
No, no, it's fine. Like, um, I don't know. I like this book. This is the only good Willow book that exists. Don't read Chris Claremont's Willow trilogy, which literally the first chapter, Willow has a dream and his name is a different character. And that's how the books go.
that's so. So I had that series in hardcover, and I just all I heard was that's garbage. It's garbage. It hardly relates to anything Willow.
My
So
my
I got rid of
favorite
them.
one of my favorite Matt Wilkins stories. So Matt's out filming a more civilized age as we speak. That's why he's not like blowing up the comments. Matt took a ton of books to like a library drop off,
Hmm.
and they took everything, including like really destroyed paperbacks. They wouldn't take the Willow trilogy hardcovers,
Wow.
and they were in pristine shape.
Jeez. Is it that bad?
Yeah,
Not
Willow.
bad.
I tell you what. So it's like a tier of Lucasfilm properties. Top tier Star Wars, got the EU, all that. Indiana Jones, significant step down, has some of its own like continuous adventures, had a TV show, that sort of thing. And then Willow's down here has a movie, a novelization, three terrible spin-off books, and now it gets a Disney Plus show because Lucasfilm's running out of things to ruin.
Yeah.
And then below that, you have Howard the Duck.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like I get that temptation, like, oh, I want to see the Willow series. I want to see how these characters ended up, but then that realization that it's
I'm watching
Disney,
it. I'll
I
watch it.
just
It gives us an
don't know.
excuse to watch something on Disney Plus that's new. I mean, the last thing I watched on there was Hocus Pocus 2. It wasn't terrible. It was fine. Felt like a Hocus Pocus movie.
Yeah,
But
that's.
yeah,
I'm glad that we read this book.
yeah. What would you rate it?
I am going to give this novelization an A plus.
I was going to give it a 5 out of 5.
I mean, Wayland Drew, just such an impressive author.
Now the tough question: is this better than Dragon Slayer?
For me, I'm going to say no, and I think that kind of has. I don't know if I'm blind by the love of the film that I have, but I just think like learning the history and the other things that he tied into it,
Mhm.
like, is really advances the story for me. But I don't know.
I
This is a good
think
question.
I think that it's a little better. It flows better. There's a better flow to it. That's it. Dragon Slayer has a fine flow. It's a solid
Mm.
read. We highly recommend Dragon Slayer.
Oh yeah,
It's a great book. It's one of the best books we've read on this podcast.
yeah, yeah.
But this, oh god, I'm gonna say this is one of the probably hmm, second or third best thing we've ever read here on here.
Really,
I can't rank it over Rambo First Blood Part 2.
that was a good. That was a good book.
Uh,
It gets hard sometimes with these novelizations because when
yeah,
they're good, man, sometimes they're just superior. Because it feels more like it was a book first, and then, oh, yeah, they made a movie off of it, and they forgot to add stuff or, left things out.
it's the best thing we read this season. Is the most
Yeah,
surprising because we also read Rambo 3.
yeah. It's too
I
bad,
would put them
Adam
I
missed
would
out.
put them as equal for this season. It was the polar opposite of Jaws: The Revenge.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
But yeah,
It's too
we
bad it's too bad Adam missed out on this one this month.
I know. I was thinking that when I was finishing it up. Um, can we do like a season overview right now since we're basically at the finale?
But, yeah,
Um,
okay. So we both give it 5 out of 5, A+. plus.
yeah,
Great book.
highly recommend it.
Highly
Highly
recommend
recommend.
it.
It's pretty easy to find a paperback copy of this.
Mhm.
I wish it was reprinted though. My hope is that with the Willow show, because this is a Del Rey, it's Del
Mm,
Rey, or at least it was printed by Del Rey. That hopefully they could get the license and just reprint it.
yeah, that would be
Or
awesome.
Titan Books gets it. The Titan Books tends to do sci-fi and not
Mhm.
fantasy.
Fantasy.
The Titan Books, they just buy every property at this point. Buy the book rights.
Yeah.
Because what do they at this point they own they have the rights to Alien, Predator, and all the subsequent stuff with that. Planet of the Apes, Independence Day, Bloodshot. Pretty sure that
It's
was a
it's a
I
yeah, all sci-fi.
all the Godzilla books.
Yeah.
Um,
They
the
did
Halloween
Ghostbusters.
books are through Titan Books now. They
Yep.
just own. It's the
I think
strangest.
they're the only ones, yeah, like that Uncharted Titan book.
Yeah. Um,
I think
I don't know if it
all of
was a
them.
movie novelization or a game novelization, but they did a Tomb Raider book, I'm pretty sure.
I don't know. Like that ties into the video game.
Yeah, either the video game or the remake film. And
Oh,
not it wasn't a remake, it was a reboot film.
yeah, I don't know about that one. Um, yeah, they did Ghostbusters novelization. I think they're the only publisher really doing novelizations other than Encyclopocalypse, right?
Yeah, and
Now,
Psychopocalypse says they'll do anything though. Like
yeah,
I read that Manborg. I reviewed that this year. That was a solid novelization. It was
yeah.
really short, more like a novelization.
Hmm,
I actually interviewed the author, really cool guy. But that's like horror sci-fi. And
yeah,
they've done like a couple dark fantasy stuff, so maybe I could talk to them. I don't have sway, but I'd be
mhm,
like, hey, Sean, email Sean, like, hey, can you print Willow?
yeah. We need
Can
a
you
Willow
get
print, please.
Christian Francis to do an audiobook of Willow?
That'd be awesome.
That would be awesome. Um,
Even Dragon Slayer.
or
It's like
Dragon
let's
Slayer.
get all
That
the
might be
fantasy.
easier to get.
So I need these more of these fantasy novelizations.
Yeah, we just need more novelizations that aren't science fiction.
Yeah,
Because the
yeah.
science fiction, don't get me wrong, I'm happy that they happen. I'm glad Alien Covenant got a novelization. But it's Titan Books, we need a Prey novelization. We
Oh yeah,
got The Predator. Now it's time for Prey.
yeah. It's kind of weird that they'd leave that off, but
It's because The Predator didn't do well, so they slashed a lot of the budget and marketing. That's why, because Prey, watching it on, we're getting into the weeds here, but watching Prey on Hulu, it was shot like a cinematic movie. Like
yeah,
it
I
wasn't
heard pretty good
full
things about
budget,
it.
really. It was great. It was like the perfect. We have a female protagonist. She's not great at everything, but she's good at learning. And so
Yeah,
everything feels earned. And I loved that aspect of it. Although part of me, the artsy fartsy part of me, wanted them speaking in the native language of their tribe. I think they were Cherokee Indians, but I'm not sure. Cherokee native peoples. And there's like a few words in Cherokee or Sioux. I'm not sure which, because the main actress is part one tribe in the US, but she was playing someone of a different tribe.
uh,
But it was really good. It was really good.
yeah,
There's a continuity error, but I expect nothing less from these series at this point. I mean, Ridley Scott didn't direct it, so I was thankful.
that's good. That's really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. I want to rank all the books we reviewed this season.
Okay. I guess the first one we did was Rambo 3,
Yes,
followed by Jaws: The Revenge,
which was the worst thing we read this year.
The Temple of Doom,
Which
King
is
Kong, Willow, and then the missed book that we did not finish, Kroll.
Pro, which we do plan to get to that.
Yes. So hold on to your butts, guys. Kroll's
It might
coming.
be coming soon.
Yeah.
I'm actually starting to read it tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's my
How
next
about it?
thing to read because
Me too.
it bothered me. I watched. It's the only movie of these that I rewatched. It's cool. We didn't talk about it. I didn't even get it done. We get Adam and I moved at the same time. It was just chaos here. We couldn't record. It wasn't possible.
No.
I felt terrible about it, but we couldn't do it. It was not feasible. Otherwise, it would just be not Adam, Matthew
Me.
doing a single cut.
Yeah.
Um, which stay tuned. Halloween Kills is getting a single cut, and possibly Halloween Ends, although I don't think it will be on Halloween.
Yeah.
I'm running out of time, but I'm
This
almost done
thanks
with Halloween Kills.
this Thanksgiving.
Well, I'm listening to it at work. That's how I
Okay.
get through these.
Okay.
Um, which we haven't had a single cut in
In
ages.
a while, yeah. I still haven't posted one.
Yeah, you slacker. Just do Bloodshot.
I haven't done anything on my any of my other channels in a while either.
Yeah.
So
Do Gemini Man.
I need to. I read it
Yeah,
and I have
just
a
just do a single cut. Everyone, thumbs up for Gemini Man.
yeah. Give us you like this video and you want a Gemini Man single cut.
I mean, why not? It's a modern novelization.
Yeah.
I've done some like obscure old ones. Like all of mine were all Halloween related. I went through
Yeah.
Halloween 2, 3, and 4.
See, I
Which
still haven't seen the movie though.
what's that?
I haven't seen Gemini Man the movie.
That's even better.
So it'll
I
be more
still
like a
have
book
one
review.
that I need to do for The Spy Who Loved Me by Christopher Woods. Not to be mixed up with Ian Fleming's The Spy Who Loved Me.
Yeah. Okay.
I still need to do
Just
that.
gotta catch up, man.
It's done. Like I just need to. I think I recorded one. I'm not sure where it is
Okay.
though.
So, in your opinion,
Mhm.
what was the worst novelization this season?
Jaws: The Revenge. I couldn't
Jaws:
finish
The
it.
Revenge.
It was one of the worst reading experiences I think I've ever had.
Wow.
The book insulted my intelligence on such a level. The movie's stupid, but the book's dumber,
Yeah.
if that makes any sense. Like, they're trying to explain all sorts of stuff. There's voodoo nonsense, drug trafficking nonsense. There's all sorts of nonsense in the book. It was horrific to read. And I literally messaged Matthew and I'm like, I can't finish this. I'm not going to finish this. Like, I will not do this to myself.
I mean, yeah, it was
That's
tough.
the worst thing we've.
I mean, but this is going to be kind of a shocker here for
Mhm.
you. Now that time has passed, okay,
Uh-huh.
I think my least favorite novelization this year was King Kong.
Really?
Yeah,
I'd rank it in the middle.
it's
I'd
just.
rank it over Temple of Doom. Temple of Doom, I think, was my most disappointed. It was fine. Raiders is so much better.
I mean, since you're speaking on that, Temple of Doom was like the one above King Kong.
You see,
So
I think the things with that I liked about King Kong is like it's like the oldest movie novelization. That's so
yeah,
fascinating.
it
They
is.
added in the spider pit, which is a scene
Mhm.
that fans of the original film always have wanted to see. It just doesn't exist anymore, I'm pretty sure. Um, but like even Peter Jackson tried to remake it, the spider pit scene with stop motion to put it back in the original film, and they couldn't do it. I mean, can you imagine just doing stop motion for an eight-legged creature and making it look.
Would take a long time.
It's a nightmare. I don't get how they did it in Kroll with the like white spider.
Yeah, that
That thing
that
looks
was
incredible,
creepy.
except for its mandibles are a little funky.
It was a little creepy too.
Oh, it's supposed to be creepy, but it
Yeah,
moves like a spider.
yeah.
That's what the creepiest part. It's like the best stop motion I've ever seen in my life. It's but
So since we've done five, we did five books. So King Kong is my number five, and Temple of Doom is my number four.
okay. Jaws of Revenge is my number 5. Temple of Doom's my number 4.
What's your number three?
King Kong.
Okay, my number three would be Jaws of the Revenge.
Yeah.
It's just because I mean, yeah, it was so bad, but it did what a novelization should do and like fix things from the film, but it also kind of broke things from the film, kind of. But it just it really got into the head of a shark, or not really the head of the shark, but explained the reasons of what the shark was doing to
What you were
make it
talking.
make sense, rather than it's just like out for family vengeance. It's like, oh, it's just trying to find its way through, the waters, and it just so happens upon, this lady who assumes that it's after her.
I mean, we have a similar thing in Halloween Kills, where Laurie Strode's like, Michael Myers is after me. It's like, no, no, he's killing people indiscriminately.
Yeah.
Which I'm almost done with that book. That book's nasty. The woman gets killed with this fluorescent light bulb to the throat.
Ooh.
It's in the film too, and it's pretty horrific in that. She's like an elderly person. He kills this elderly couple, and he like throws the husband on the island, and he just takes every knife off of the chopping block and stabs him with it to see which one stabs better. In the film,
Jeez.
he's like dead, but in the novelization, he's still alive. Like in the film, he throws his lifeless corpse on the island. He's just stabbing him in the back with every knife. In the movie, the guy's still alive. He's just like paralyzed, and he just keeps stabbing
Getting stabbed.
in the stomach and
Oh.
chest. It's just horrific.
Ew.
Like just the amount of it's so mean spirited. It's written by a guy named Tim Wagoner, who he's one of those many guys that just writes for Titan Books.
Yeah.
He has like an
I've heard the
alien
name.
book. I've seen him in a few things, but he is the only author to write a Halloween book at this point. I'm not counting the guy who wrote Halloween's End, guy or gal. I'm not sure who wrote Halloween Ends.
I'm not
Um,
sure.
I haven't looked. But he actually in the beginning of the book he thanks the guy who wrote the novelization for Halloween 2. And he references all the other Halloween novels and films, even though, and it makes no goddamn sense, but he
Yeah.
did it for him. So good for him. But like he references the Cult of Thorn for no reason because this is a reboot and none of that crap exists. I can't wait to talk about this because I hate the first half of it.
Mhm.
I stopped. I gave up on the book last year. But I think I was Halloweened out. Like
Yeah,
it was
because
getting to
you did
December.
all those Halloween books.
Oh yeah, I did a deep dive into Halloween, and I was just mentally done.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah, number two for you.
Rambo, Rambo 3.
So my number one is just a draw between Willow and Rambo 3. I can't put one over the
Yeah,
other.
I mean,
Just so
Rambo was such an awesome surprise for me. Like, when you said, "We're gonna read the novelization," I was like, "I have the films, I probably should start watching them because I hadn't seen Rambo." And when
mhm,
I watched it, I was like, "That's a really good movie." And then the novelization was quite a
so much better.
surprise.
That's
Yeah.
why they called it Rambo of Arabia. Um, but like it's so shocking, and the amount of care that David Morrell put into Rambo 3, and that Wayland Drew put into Willow.
Yeah.
Just people like yes, it's contractually obligated to do this, but like have some love for it.
Yeah.
That was something out of all the books we read this year, those two felt like labors of love.
Mhm.
The others felt contractually obligated.
Like a job. Yeah.
It felt like a job. James Caan wrote Temple of Doom for a paycheck.
Yeah.
Um, what's his face wrote Jaws the Revenge for a paycheck and put nonsense in it.
Yeah, he's right. He's probably like, "Man, how am I gonna make this sell?"
King Kong was a favor,
Yeah.
and they say just as much.
Yeah, the audiobook.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, there's just something special about some of these novelizations where you like you said, the love, like, you can really feel it through the pages. You can tell in the writing styles. Like, some of this, like, Wayland Drew's writing style is just, to me, it's phenomenal, and
Yeah,
I don't know if that's just part of the love for writing, or just the, like, the way he
Mhm.
just words things. I don't know, like,
And
where it comes from.
you could tell it's Wayland Drew.
Yeah.
Um, you can tell when David Morrell writes something, or when let me look here. Um, I'm trying to
Th
think of some other ones
That's
we
something
did.
that kinda connects, like, between those 2 is they both like their chapter styles.
Mhm.
Like, they each have their own, like, these chapters in Willow were, like, longer chapters, um, but fewer in the book, like, I think there's, like,
Yeah,
10 chapters total.
something like
12.
that.
There's 12 chapters.
And they get
And
their point across,
yeah, yeah, and
and they're
Rambo
just
had
looking at
chapters with sections in those chapters.
that. Alan Dean Foster, you can tell it's an Alan Dean Foster book,
Mm, yeah.
which Matt Wilkins hates. Matt Wilkins hates Alan Dean Foster. I like him sometimes.
Alien.
Alien, we haven't read Aliens yet. I
Nope.
have read Aliens. Aliens is the novelization is just Aliens without the swearing.
And that was Alan Dean Foster too, right?
Yeah, he wrote all of them except for Resurrection, and he didn't write Prometheus because Prometheus, this novelization, is only in Japanese.
Oh, wow, okay.
I didn't even know there was a Prometheus novelization until a few months ago, and someone send me an English edit of it. I would
Yeah,
love to read it.
yeah, what is it? What is our email? Paper Movies
Something
Book
like
Club
that.
at gmail.com, something like that. I
Yeah.
think it's in our go to our homepage here on YouTube and, hit the About and email it to us
Yeah, send us Prometheus in as an English
in
translation
English.
because I cannot read Japanese.
No,
I can speak a few words in Japanese, but that's about it.
yeah.
Well, yeah. When are we gonna do Basic Instinct?
I thought, Adam was gonna do that as a single cut for
We can't.
February.
I have to be on there. That's a requirement.
Okay.
This is one of the ones. And Zardoz. We have to.
I am looking forward to that one.
Zardoz. Oh gosh. And then we're gonna have to do a watch along of Zardoz. We're gonna get so drunk. This is the best way to watch Zardoz. Best way to watch Zardoz is to drink a
Just
12 pack
wasted.
and like some whiskey. Oh, Zardoz. I got like banned on my old Twitter from the Criterion Collection Twitter for
You're just
asking where the
blowing
Zardoz criteria was.
it's a funny response, like, "Hey, where's the stat? Where's Zardoz?"
Well, it wasn't. I was like,
Cancel.
I went at it was something like this. It was like at Criterion Collection. When are we getting the Zardoz release? And it snowballed into people wanting the Good Burger movie as part of the Criterion Collection, which I forgot that was a movie.
Oh my gosh. That's
But yeah,
really funny.
and that's why I don't have a Twitter anymore. I was very sad. I actually I want a Criterion remaster in 4K of Zardoz.
Just gotta try again. Just gotta
I
try
just
again.
the gun is good, the penis is evil. Zardoz always says.
So weird. It's so
And that's
weird.
the guy who directed Deliverance. That's what he did after Deliverance. Makes Zardoz like the
Took a
next year.
weird turn.
And then he did Exorcist 2 The Heretic.
Interesting career choices.
John Borman's a crazy person. Only a crazy person would make Deliverance into a movie. But it's a good
Yeah,
movie.
yeah, it was a good movie, and it was a novel first.
Mhm. But like Zardoz, that was his art house film. That's what
I'm
Sean
looking to
Connery
see
stopped being James Bond to do. He's
if
Zed.
if there's, not Zardoz novelization out there, guys, on eBay, if you are looking for a copy, because I have one. I've got
You
one.
have one, I have one. I think Adam doesn't have one.
Nope. But there is a copy on eBay, 1843 or best offer. So look it
Yeah,
up.
I got mine for about $15. A little more than I like to pay for a paperback, but 70s novelizations, and in the good, mine's in decent shape too. They're kind of
Yeah.
hard to come by.
Yeah, mine's in really good shape too. But yeah, there it's $90,
Mm.
$90, $38, $80. See, guys, when it pops up for 18 bucks, there's one for 15.95, free shipping. Get on
Mad
eBay,
Machad
folks.
brings up another great thing. Black Adam should be put in the Criterion Collection. I have not seen it. It looks really stupid, but you know, we need to put the rundown. The Rock, another one of the Rock's classics, one of the few ones he did with hair, in the Criterion Collection as well.
Okay.
If David Lincolnladder can have movies put in the Criterion Collection when he's like one of the worst filmmakers, in my opinion, except for School of Rock. The School of Rock is good because Jack Black's in it, playing
Mhm.
himself.
Yeah.
But David Lincolnladder did Dazed and Confused, which I don't think is a particularly good movie. It's fine, but he did Boyhood, a movie that
That is it the one that was like 10 years long or
12
something?
years to make,
That's
and
so
you watch
weird.
this kid grow up to be a pretentious, awful teenager and read dialogue that a 50-year-old man wrote for teenagers. And I highly doubt he has children because human beings don't speak like that. And that's the thing with most of David Lincolnlatter's films. Human beings do not talk that way. It's the same thing with Kevin Smith movies. Human beings don't talk like they do in Kevin Smith movies. And that's not a compliment. They're bad. They're bad.
Yeah.
I just, someone needs to write a novelization to Yoga Hosers.
I haven't seen
That's
that.
good. That's a good thing you haven't seen that. It's about two girls. The one's Johnny Depp's daughter, the other one's Kevin Smith's daughter. They work at a convenience store in Canada. It's a weird sequel to Tusk because they had a cameo in Tusk as the same characters, and a
Hmm,
bunch of actors in Tusk show up as other characters. But
that's
they end up
strange.
fighting Nazi sausages.
Well, okay.
It Kevin Smith smoked too much weed, and that's what we got. Because he
So it
smokes
gave
weed
him
and
a
doesn't eat.
yeah. Well, then he have a heart attack.
Yeah, and that's why they made Clerks 3, which is horrible.
I was, I
Don't
was
watch Clerks.
I don't think I've ever seen any of his movies.
That's okay. You don't need to.
Don't need to.
I rewatched Clerks. It wasn't as good as I remembered it being. Um, but like all of his movies, he's like M. Night Shyamalan. It's a consistent.
It's a big drop off.
It's a big drop off. Everything gets worse.
Yeah, I see M Night's got a new movie coming out, and it looks awful.
Yeah, I think he's embraced that he makes trash though. He's embraced that his movies are awful, and everyone thinks they're awful now. Because for the
Yeah.
longest time, he fought that. Remember The Happening, his first R-rated movie that was marketed as M. Night Shyamalan's first R-rated movie because they had nothing good to say about it. I mean,
The music was good. I like the music in it.
I don't remember. I remember the guy gets eaten by lions, which was wonderful. Another guy gets run over by a lawnmower.
Yeah.
That was in the trailer.
Wasn't it kind of like a rip-off of that old I think it was an '80s movie where the machines turn on people? Not like
Maximum
robots.
Overdrive, Stephen King's only directorial debut.
I get yeah, didn't it have like a big semi truck with like a goblin face on the front?
Yeah, it has the Green Goblin's face.
Yeah,
That
I like
movie's
that movie.
nonsense.
Where the vending machine kills somebody,
Yeah, he shoots the
shoots all the
guy in
sodas
the
out.
balls. And he
Yeah,
pelts another kid gets run over by a cement, one of those flattening trucks, cement vehicles, like a
yeah.
child. There's a dog that has a toy car shoved up its mouth. It's just dead. The irony is Stephen King was on so much coke he doesn't remember making Maximum Overdrive. That dude doesn't remember writing Cujo.
No, it probably doesn't. Yeah,
He doesn't remember a lot of the 80s. It's like Glenn Hughes at that point. I just love that. You know, I mean, I don't want to be so drugged up that I don't remember a
Anything?
whole decade. But Glenn Hughes has said that he doesn't remember the 80s. That makes me laugh. And Stephen King doesn't remember a good chunk of the 80s. I can tell you that.
Yeah, man.
Uh,
So I really haven't. I don't know what else to bring up with the
Willow's good. Read
novelization
it.
stuff. The
Go read Willow. Go watch Willow.
I mean, now
Willow
I'm.
needs more love.
It does. I'm really
It's
tempted to get batteries not included now. I mean, I think I saw the movie once a long time ago.
yeah,
Don't
it's the
remember
only
anything about
Wayland.
it.
I've never heard of it. It's the only Wayland Drew novel I don't own because I own Corvette Summer. I picked that up
Okay,
summer.
yeah, I'll have to
That's
pick it up.
gonna be a weird one because that's a bad movie that he wrote a
See,
novelization
that's
to.
it. Doesn't sound interesting. Yeah, I've never even heard of the movie, but
It
like,
was a comedy. It's a it was made because Mark Hamill was popular right after Star Wars. Corvettes were popular. He teams
mhm,
up with I think she's a prostitute. They just drive across America in a Corvette.
okay, I'm sure Wayland Drew made it work.
Probably. We'll see. That'll be the test. That's his first novelization.
Okay, so it could be bad, and maybe he just improved from that.
Yeah, because I think Dragon Slayer came out. It was either Dragon Slayer or Batteries Not Included. I think those came out around the same time. And
Yeah,
Willow's the last.
Dragon Slayer was 1981.
Okay, so
Um,
now we need to
pull
look it
up
up.
the old search Corvette Summer,
Corvette
right?
Summer's like 78.
Yep, 1978.
Yeah, it was literally made right after Star Wars came out. It's
Yeah,
before Mark Hamill's accident.
batteries not included was 1987. So I think that's right before Willow. Isn't
Willow.
Willow 88? Yeah, Willow's 1988. Came out in February 1988. Yeah,
Okay,
the novelization did.
so we read the final novelization by Wayland Drew. Didn't realize it. 'Cause he
That's crazy.
died in the 90s.
Yeah. Was it the 90s or the early 2000s?
It was the late 90s, I wanna say. It was 10 years after this came out.
Trying to look him up real quick. Yeah, 1998,
'Cause,
Canada.
I was thinking, like, I wonder if Wayland Drew ever does conventions. I'd love to talk to him, like, "Oh, no, been dead for 2 decades."
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. It's like doing this makes you think, like, how many other people are out there right now talking about Wayland Drew?
Yeah,
Like, because I mean, he was like such an awesome writer.
or how many people in the '80s, in the D&D crowd that were really excited for Willow, read this, read Dragon Slayer, and just were obsessed.
Yeah.
Like, that's one of the things when we set out to do paper movies, at least in my mind, is to talk to these people who remember when these came out
Hmm.
and be like, "Oh, we're gonna breathe new life into these." Because who knows
Yeah.
how many fantasy books are out there that were released in the '80s during the D&D craze that just aren't in print anymore, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, we're gonna find
It's
a Legend novelization or an Excalibur novelization? I don't know if those exist.
Excalibur. No. Who was in that one? Was that
I've never seen it, so I couldn't tell you there. I mean, hell, I have an American Gigolo novelization in hardcover. Have I ever showed you this?
no?
This is a perfect time.
I don't see an Excalibur
Look at
novelization, but
that.
there is a novel. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I have American Gigolo in hardcover. I have Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, the Kevin Costner Robin Hood in hardcover. I have Platoon.
Nice.
Platoon's really boring, guys. I tried to do a single cut on that. There's way too much dialogue.
Really.
Yeah, there's a lot of talky when we should be just showing. What else? Oh, I have Basic Instinct in hardcover, of course. Of course, I have that. Poltergeist, I have that in hardcover.
Nice. I've got
Just
the.
James Bond.
I just have a few. I've got Dragon Slayer, Dracula, and The Fugitive.
Okay.
I think I think that's it.
All those I said were in book club size because I have
Yeah.
in standard hardcover size. I have the Deer Hunter and all of the Indiana Jones books and the Star Wars books, of course.
Yeah.
Which may be some. Oh, I take that back. I have License to Kill in hardcover. James Bond, which we did on the
Okay.
show. You weren't on that episode though.
Nope, that's the one that I missed.
That
Is
was
that
so
this?
you were on GoldenEye. That's right.
Was that this season? No,
That was last year.
last year.
That was for my birthday last year. We did License to Kill.
Right. Yeah.
Because I read most of it on Gabby's bed when Gabby and I weren't living together.
I'm trying to remember if I was on a trip that time.
Yeah, that was the season where we had things come up one month after the other, and we weren't. It wasn't until November we all showed up on the same
Yeah.
stream together.
Yeah.
Oh, I also have Hondo by Louis L'Amour, which was a short story that got converted into a novelization in the 50s for a John Wayne movie. So it has both. And it's in this weird tiny hardcover size.
Weird.
That's smaller than the book club size.
It's like the super book club size.
Yeah, it's a weird digest thing. I don't know. Yeah, I think that's all the novelizations I have in hardcover. I have so many in paperback though. It's ridiculous. But like whenever I see these novelizations in like the book club size, I always snag them no matter what they are because they're usually cheap. Like especially if you go to a bookstore.
Yeah.
People
I've got Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, Splinter of the Mind's Eye, the Han Solo trilogy, all in the book club
Well,
size.
I have most of my EU collections in the book club size. It's just such a convenient size to read.
I haven't read any of those, like the hardcovers that I have. I haven't read them. I mean, they seem like they would be a real nice to handle. Spines not breaking like in these older books.
Well, back in the 90s and early 2000s, my mother had a sci-fi book club subscription. So she always get these 3-in-1s and stuff. She didn't get all of them from what I remember. But like I remember the Republic Commando ones coming out and begging my mom she never got them for me. Those are expensive.
Yeah.
Those are like $500 a piece now.
Jeez.
I think volume 2 is 500. Volume 1 fluctuates a lot. I typically see it about 150.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're really sought after. I blame myself for when I used to do haul videos, showing them off because the second time going through, whoo! You can check out my Star Wars Legends podcast. I talk about that. Talk about collecting my last episode.
Okay.
But yeah, damn.
Well, guess let's wrap it up. We plan on coming back. When November, December with Kroll. Just rant sometime whenever we both get it.
Yeah, we're gonna try to do. I want to get out early November before I go to Germany.
Okay.
But like for next season, that's up in the air. We'll discuss that.
Yeah, we'll have
coming back. We just don't know when.
There's also going to be I think we're gonna have a Christmas special. Adam and I were going to talk about Home Alone 2.
Okay.
Just like a junior novelization that they have out there that mine is different than Adam's. So we have 2 different novelizations that we're going to be talking about for Home Alone 2.
I think we need to do an episode where we do our top 10 favorite novelizations that we've reviewed, whether it's a single cut or a book club.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. I think next year we could probably do some more stuff like that.
Yeah, not necessarily a book club every month.
Right. which we'll discuss that behind the scenes, and then everybody will find out.
Guys,
But
post what you want.
yeah, do that for sure. It's like viewership seems to be up, subscriptions keep coming in. It's fun to sit back and talk about these novelizations, and we don't always comment back on
Mhm.
your comments, reply, but we do read them. I read them. Um, it's just hard to reply all the time.
Yeah, especially
So
when we're trying to stay focused, which
yeah,
we all know I have issues with.
me too.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, we thank you guys for watching and sticking with us. Don't forget about the Facebook group where we post pictures of our novelizations and just talk about them.
Yeah. All
So,
right.
well, thanks everybody, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah. Bye. Stay Gucci.
Bye.